See. All right, we're live. Welcome to this week's edition of Fights Unwrapped. To the right of me is my co-host Alec Carr. Now, Alec Carr, we always do this before we start the show. If you have any Twitter handles, anything you want to plug in, here's the time to do it.
Yeah, you guys can follow me at, let's see if I always confuse my fingers. There we go. Right there. Alex TD Car. It's my personal account on Twitter. I say it every week, but some awful wall opinions, especially with the state of Philadelphia sports going on. I don't know if you've seen any of what I've been posting, Monique, but it's very, very
I
angry
have.
rant about the
Yes,
Philadelphia
he has.
Eagles. Um, I think all very important, but very angry rants. And then you can also follow me at Fourth and 26 Sports. We are a Philadelphia network. We're doing a lot of retweeting, a lot of what we see as good, important news in Philadelphia and across the entire country for sports. We got basketball, uh, NFL, anything you can think of. There's a lot more fight content coming out of that Twitter as well. And then I haven't been able to in a long time, but I really want to get back on Hoops Unwrapped, and I will be back on there eventually. My schedule's just got to clear up. And then, as always, you can follow all of us at the amazing Unwrapped Network at Unwrapped Sports. You got Monique, you got all of us. You got Perry. A lot of really, really good content coming out of there.
All right. Okay, so before we jump into our UFC headlines for this week, we are going to talk about some of our sponsors. So I cannot wait to see Carlos Condit back in the octagon. I don't know about you, but ever since I've seen his last two fights, I just really want to see him go at it again. He is a huge, huge supporter of RxHemp.com, their amazing CBD product. And they have icy hot creams. If anybody is an athlete, they're recovering from something, they suffer from injuries, RxHemp.com is the place to go to get your CBD creams. And you can use our promo code RxHemp-USN to get 10% off your entire order if you sign up today. So that's pretty cool. And also, for anyone who is a betting person just like me. I know Alucard doesn't really bet, but I am for sure. And like you can use mybookie.ag today. We have a promo code USN100 so you can get up to 100% sign up bonus. That's right, double up your first deposit. Minimum $45 up to $1,000 if you wish to have that lying around and you want to use that towards something. You can use that to mybookie.ag. All right, so some of our headlines, they're kind of, they're not on the brightest side. First one being, let's talk about Chimaeva's health. Okay, like it's just he has some lingering effects from COVID. That's why his matchup in March is now rescheduled again. And then they said that he's going to Las Vegas, I believe, soon in the United States to get more medical treatment, and he will. They're targeting his return up until June now. So this fight has been postponed since January because he was supposed to be fighting Leon Edwards in that whole triple decker, fight night or pay-per-view event in January at Fight Island. So it's been pushed back a lot now. Actually, no, actually further than that. I'm pretty sure it was like pushed back further than that, maybe in December. I'm pretty sure that fight was actually pushed back even further than that, if I'm not mistaken. It was supposed to be in December, so Alucard, what do you think about it? I mean, we already know this fight is cursed. I mean, the most important thing is Chimaeva's health, and so far it's not looking too good for him.
Yeah, I mean the fight's cursed or whatever it is. COVID-19 just hates this fight. I love
Yeah.
this fight. I think it would be a fantastic fight, Edward versus Chimaev. I think June is an optimistic view. Now I'm not a doctor. I'm not. I have my own. I'm self-educated with WebMD and all that other stuff, just like most of us are. Um, but it sounds really serious. An article came out a couple of weeks ago, even before this, that he couldn't even get through a full training session. He got cleared to train and then started training, and He couldn't breathe. He couldn't walk up the steps. He couldn't stand up. Um, this article, his manager is a guy I don't even like mentioning his name because I don't like him that much. He's the MMA manager. You guys, if you want, you can guess who that is. Um, Came out and said, Chimaev thought he was going to die. There were points where he thought that he was going to die, that he felt so bad that he wasn't going to make it through COVID. His lung capacity is reportedly around like operating at like 30-40%, which is crazy that he even tried training.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
it's just such a shame. I hope it gets better. I like him or not like him outside of the octagon. The guy puts on a show every single time. He's cocky. He's arrogant. But he's backed it up every single time. He reminds me of Conor McGregor. Well, he was that rise of maybe he won't beat this guy. He's definitely not going to beat this guy. I can't beat this guy. And then he just goes out and he whoops everybody's ass.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, all the top fighters are saying how overrated he is, but he's still just whooping ass in two different divisions. That's great. Um, Forward to him welterweight, because I do feel like that's where he would have gone with it. Um, I don't know
Yeah.
though. I hope he gets healthy soon. He needs to get healthy soon. The UFC needs him. He is, in my opinion, I know it's early, and I might get a lot of backlash for this, especially from one of our dear friends, Dustin. But Chimaev is, I think, really one of the only guys that can contend with Usman. His style of fighting. Um, he's got to get a couple more fights
Oh
under his
wow.
belt. So let's see him get healthy. Let's see him fight Edwards whenever that might happen. And maybe one more top five guy, and let's get him with Usman. Prayers are going out to the Chimaev and his whole family.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, it just makes you realize how serious COVID could actually be, like, for these fighters. Like, we don't really, you usually see them get it and then they recover for a week or two and then their fight is postponed. But like this time, Chimaev has been like that fight has been postponed a lot of times, and a lot of it was because of his fight against COVID, not necessarily Leon Edwards' fight against COVID. So it makes you really think how serious this disease could actually be, and so I personally want to see him fight. Like I'm still on the skeptical side of Chimaev, so like that's why I've always just I wanted to see this fight for like it feels like it's months now. It's been months since I've wanted to see this fight, and now it's getting pushed back and pushed back again. So I mean, again, prayers go out to him and his family. The most important thing is for him to get healthy right now, and then we can think about who he's gonna fight. And speaking of who someone's gonna fight, what the hell are we gonna do with Leon Edwards? Because he is left without an opponent, even though there are reports saying that Dana's really pushing for Kobe Covington to fight Leon Edwards, but Kobe Covington's not really liking that idea. He thinks that because he's number one in welterweight, that he should fight Usman next and run it back because he's number one and then he already beat Tyron Woodley. According to his defense, this is not my defense. This is Kobe Covington's defense, mind you. Okay, that he thinks that because he fought Tyron Woodley and beat him, and that he probably thought that the Usman fight was close and stuff like that, and he probably thinks that the Jorge Masvidal like call out is stupid. He thinks that he should be able to fight Usman next, but like I see you shaking your head, Alikar. So what do you really think
Well,
about? Yeah,
we're going to talk about Kobe next, right? Or at some point. So right, or is this my time to talk about
this
Colby?
is this is your time. This is your time.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
Alex rant. This is your rant. Okay, this is Alex rant of the
Um,
week.
it's like a mild rant because I don't want to get into the political leanings of somebody else. Everybody has the right to believe in what they want to believe in. Um, you don't have the right to be offensive. You don't have the right to disrespect fellow fighters, especially those in the top five. What you said against Leon that he hasn't beaten anyone is just absolutely absurd. You guys have very, very similar resumes. You beat Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley wasn't in the top 5 when you beat him. He wasn't. He was 6. Tyron Woodley's going to probably be
Mm-hmm.
sitting at 9 or 10 by the end of this year if he's still in the UFC. Um,
Right.
so that fight
Yeah.
is not going to age well. You've beaten some really really good fighters. It beat Robbie Lawler. That fight was incredible. The first time he showed his striking ability. Um, but Leon Edwards has a good resume too. He's a top 5 fighter. He's he's beaten Vicente Luque. Like this is the guy that's been tagged as one of the next up and
Yeah.
comers. And Leon Edwards already beat him. Like he's top 5 for a reason. Um, I don't. I hope Leon gets a good fight next. I don't know who it would be. Maybe it's a Stephen Thompson Wonder Boy fight. I think they've already fought him. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I don't have his fights right in front of me. But that would be an awesome fight. Leon Edwards is a good fighter, and for Colby to come out and just be utterly disrespectful in that nature of a fellow top 5 fighter in your division is just crazy. It's just crazy. And people go on about how Conor used to do it all the time, and Conor did this. Colby is not Conor McGregor. Conor was
Mm-hmm.
disrespectful in a what's up, Michael Lawson? Um, Colby was I mean, Conor's disrespectful, and I'm going to sell your fight. But if you notice, after every single fight, Conor goes over to the fighter, win or lose, shakes his hand, good fight. It's a good fighter. Um, Colby doesn't do that. This is out of hatred. It's not out of competitive spirit. Um, and it's just disgusting. I'm sick and tired of hearing them. Um, I can't wait until
Hey,
you know
Michael.
he part of me just wants to go, you know what, Dana, make the Usman fight happen so Usman can whoop his ass again and he could just walk away. I'm
Exactly.
fucking sick and tired of this shit.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't know.
me too.
How do you feel about it?
Well, like I'm the same way as you because like Kobe, like I'm not obviously, if anyone knows, looking at the streams that we've done, I'm not the biggest fan of Kobe Covington at all, political and not political wise. He's a douche. Okay, like he really is. Politics and aside, he's still a douche, and I just think that he needs to. I mean, I would love to see Usman fight him again just to beat him again. I'm not gonna lie about that for sure, but at the same time, also I pulled up the Leon Edwards records. Like he and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson have never fought yet, so that would
Right.
be a cool fight. That'd be a cool fight to
It,
have. Yeah.
it's a great fight. It just doesn't do anything promotion wise. Like, you know what I mean? Two nice guys going at it.
I mean, I honestly think that the whole thing about this is that at the end of the day, people just they don't like Leon Edwards, and that's the whole thing. He is not the most marketable fighter right now, and then you pair
No.
that with Kobe. And Kobe, I think at the reason why Kobe doesn't like it is because people just they don't really like Leon Edwards. They think he's boring, and then you pair that up with someone who is kind of marketable, which is Kobe Covington, and he doesn't like that. And he's not expecting a really big fight or a really big payout. And I'm pretty sure that's what he wants at the end of the day. He just wants more attention. He just wants more
Mm,
attention because like he's not Conor McGregor. He can't get that attention by himself, and so that's why I don't think he. That's the real reason why he doesn't want the Leon Edwards fight. Personally, I personally don't think like if after seeing Usman's performance against Burns, I wouldn't want to face Usman anytime soon. That's for sure. That's just me. Okay, so in my opinion, that's the reason why Kobe's kind of running from this Leon Edwards fight because it doesn't do anything for him. It really doesn't.
and that's true. That is true. It's more. It would be a gift for Leon because if Leon wins, it boosts him, and he's the next He's the next in line to fight Usman.
Yeah.
And I think even though Dana and Colby have kind of the same feelings and thoughts towards a lot of things in life, I think Dana's kind of sick and tired of dealing with them too. Colby's the only fighter on the UFC roster not sponsored by Reebok. That's insane. They won't sponsor him. They say his values do not meet with ours, and
Yeah.
they will not sponsor him. So I
Yep.
mean that speaks volumes. That's a problem for Dana. That's a real legitimate problem that his number one sponsor won't sponsor one of his top contenders. Um, I don't know. And I got torn apart for this, but Colby fought Usman again. I mean, I watched that fight again. The original fight. I think it's the next fight for Usman, but I watched that fight again, and it wasn't as close. It was still a close fight, but it wasn't as close as I remembered. Colby was
Yeah.
hardly hitting him. I'm going to start calling him pillow hands because he did hardly any damage. Um, and I just
Yeah.
want to see that fight again. So, Leon, I feel bad for you, man. You deserve a good fight. I think we need to get on the phone. Me and you, Monique, get on the phone with Dana and make the Wonder Boy Leon Edwards fight happen because that would be
I
fun.
agree. That would be fun. I mean, I think like stylistically it'd be fun too if actually if I think about it right now. I haven't
Yeah,
seen Leon fight. I just haven't seen Leon fight in over a year and a half. A year and a half he hasn't had a fight.
yeah, and
Nobody
they're
wants
both
to
long,
win, you know.
except for Chimaev.
Except for
Chimaev.
Shemaya, yeah, exactly. But he's
And
out. He's out.
it would be it would be fun because it's two long welterweights who know how to use their length. Um, it would be like the Darren Till fight. I think it would be like a chess
Yeah,
match, and that fight was so maybe not for casual fight fans, but for diehard fight fans, that fight was
yeah,
so entertaining, and like I was on the edge of my seat. It's like one of them's gonna throw a strike.
exactly.
um,
Yeah, me too. Me too. So
yeah, I think that should be the next fight for him. And Wonder Boy's ready to fight. He's ready to go. He's been begging for a fight. So
he's ready. I mean, I think Edwards. I believe he's number 3, if I'm not mistaken, in welterweight rankings or something like that. So like, if Wonder Boy wins, it propels him higher
right.
and gets him closer to top contenders in the top 5 and stuff like that. So man, we gotta get a fight for Leon because I feel really bad. Nobody wants to fight him. Everyone thinks he's boring outside of the octagon. So you know that's too bad. But speaking of which, obviously the champ is still the champ right now, and he just had an amazing matchup against Gilbert Burns. I don't know, no offense to people. I'm sorry. I gotta say this. This is my little rant, Alec Carr, okay? Because I don't know how people thought that Gilbert Burns could have beaten Usman. I mean, I get it. He hits hard, but so as so many people before him have hit Usman pretty hard. Not this hard, obviously, but that's all he had. He's not going to go on the ground. Like Usman knows him so well. He knows him like the back of his hand. How did you think that he was going to win against someone who's so well rounded, who's so smart in the octagon? I was dumbfounded. Before this fight, I was just like, how did people actually think that Usman was not going to win this fight? It made no sense to me. I mean, Usman.
You wanna know what it is? People don't like Usman as a champ because he's boring. So they were hoping Burns would win, and they were picking with their heart.
Yeah, it all comes down to like who's boring, right? Like these whole headlines that we're shooting out right now. I mean, it's so true, but that fight wasn't boring to me whatsoever. I mean, Gilbert Burns was trying to get him on the ground, and then he didn't like it when Usman was shooting down those ground and pounds, and so like I'm just saying, people. I don't know what your head was thinking. Like, I get it, he's boring, but he wasn't boring in that fight. It was actually really entertaining to see them kind of go at it because they're friends, but then in the octagon they're not friends. It's all
No.
business. So
um,
that was
yeah, it
fun.
was. It was. I mean, I don't get it either. And Usman just showed that he's a tough motherfucker in that fight. He got rocked. He got rocked, and he got right back up, and he ended up winning the fight. Um, and I don't care. It is a little annoying because Usman doesn't choose to usually go after the finish. But Usman showed that he has power too in that fight, and he showed that like in the Covington fight that he had power. Usman has power. Just because he doesn't use it doesn't mean it's not there. He's got power. That
He's got
his
power.
hand and that right hand is strong. Um, it's the same way he got. I mean, when he hit Colby, not the broken jaw. When he hit Colby right on the button, he put him down. Whatever Colby says to the opposite, he did. He put him down. Um,
Yeah.
and that is so. Usman's a beast, and he did call out Masvidal, which again I think speaks to his toughness. You can call him boring all you want, but this guy doesn't shy away from a tough fight. You know, he's Masvidal didn't took the fight on 5 day notice and didn't have a fight camp at all. He had to lose reportedly 20 pounds just to make weight in 5 days. Um,
Yep.
and so he's giving Masvidal his other shot because Masvidal's walking around, and Usman said he's walking around talking all this shit, but he's turned down the fight a couple of times. So I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think personally Masvidal wants to fight him because it's stylistically a horrible matchup for him. but um, they're running out of people to fight him. So what do you think about a rematch?
I'm not crazy about it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not crazy about it. I still think Usman's gonna win that fight because Masvidal, like, he has hands. Don't get me wrong, but so did Burns, and it's just the same stylistic matchup. Like on the ground, there's no way he's going to out wrestle. He's gonna out wrestle him. He's just gonna put him in the clinch, and he's gonna do what Usman does best because there's no way he's gonna strike with Masvidal for maybe for a little bit, but he's not gonna strike with him for that long. And I just think it'd be. I'm not crazy about it because I think that could be another boring match. It'd be the same boring match as we saw in the first part because even with the training camp, it's the same thing's going to happen. You're gonna try to rock him. He's gonna get rocked, but he's gonna get back up, and then he's gonna try to out wrestle you because that's exactly what Usman does. And then we're gonna see a boring fight like we saw in the original fight. So to me, that's not like the Gilbert Burns fight was interesting because they were friends and they were sparring partners, and like obviously they strike like, that Gilbert Burns was Usman's striking partner and like sparring partner in one, so that was interesting to see. But I don't think personally I don't want to see this matchup. I would love to see Usman versus Kobe too, just because like there's obviously there's bad blood there, and then there's obviously the fact that I'm biased and you're biased, and we want to see Usman like knock Kobe the fuck out again. And also it's just stylistically it's better because Kobe, as much as we don't want to admit it, like he has some wrestling there too. So I'm just saying it's a better stylistic matchup than Masvidal. Masvidal fight to me is boring, just because
You're,
they have bad blood, but it's just gonna be a boring fight in my opinion.
and I feel like it's manufactured bad blood. I don't think they really have like bad. It's not like Usman Colby who they that's not
Yeah,
fighting
yeah,
tactics.
exactly.
That's not promotional. Usman and Colby loathe each other,
They hate each
right?
other.
Like it is not. I mean, Colby hates pretty much all fighters, all other
Yeah,
fighters, but we won't get
yeah,
into that. Um, but you're right. That fight is much more entertaining. I just think it's also. I mean, there's one fight, and I'll say it in a second. There's only one fight that I want to see Usman do, but and it's not the Colby fight stylistically, and I don't give a shit because Usman does everything Colby does better than Colby, like leaps and bounds better than Colby. He's a bigger fighter, first of all, so if it gets to the ground, he's just gonna lay on him, and
yep,
Colby's not gonna be able to do anything because Colby is a true welterweight. Usman's a huge welterweight. He's
yeah.
giant.
He is.
Um, so I mean, I want to see it too because of our biases, like you said, because I want to see him beat Colby and have Colby not have
Yeah.
anything to talk about, have no more excuses, even though he would come up with 50 of them after the fight anyway. Um, but the fight I want to see Usman and the Masvidal fight, I don't really care about it either. It's an interesting call.
Yeah.
usually champs don't call people out, so it's interesting to say I'll give Masvidal a second chance. He's just got to sign the paperwork. Um, Me and you have talked about this at length. The fight I want to
Yes,
see
I'm excited.
is Usman versus Wonder Boy. It's a Wonder Boy is the only one stylistically that could throw a wrench in Usman because Usman's never fought a pure kickboxer like that. Somebody who actually is, has a karate fighting style. Like he's never seen that before. Um,
And Wonderboy has that jab too. He has his own jab. Don't forget that.
he has a jab. He has length. He uses his leg kicks brilliantly. His footwork is the best in the welterweight division. Masvidal might have the best hands in the welterweight division, but Wonderboy's footwork and technique of striking is the best in division, probably top 3 in the UFC. The guy, I mean, his last fight, you watched him just destroy, what's his name, with his footwork. He's literally jab, 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 punch, jab, 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 straight, jab, 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 kick, and out. Like that's how he was doing it, and that's how he fights. That would create serious issues for Usman, and Wonderboy does not go to the ground. He doesn't. So um, that's what I want to see. It's just a really boring promotion. Like there's nothing to promote there. You're the two most boring guys in the UFC. And that Wonder Boy is very nice and doesn't like talking shit. And Usman, if he fights a nice fighter, just is quiet. So,
He's terrible.
but it's the fight to me.
Terrible at talking shit. So yeah.
Yes, he's got his.
That'd be funny.
He's very Daniel Cormier like in that matter, where neither of them really know how to talk shit.
Yeah. Usman, I was gonna say Usman is terrible at talking shit. That's for sure. And I'm not gonna lie. Even though Usman called out Masvidal, I remember. I remember after Wonder Boy beat what's his face that he actually had a little bit of a call out himself, and his call out, who his call out was. It was actually against Masvidal. He said like, let's get the nicest motherfucker versus the baddest motherfucker, and he said
right.
that after that fight. And you know what? I'm not opposed to that fight. I'm not opposed to that fight whatsoever. I think that like you got someone who has the best hands, and then you got the person who has the best footwork, and go. I would actually want to see that fight. That actually interests me way more than Usman versus Masvidal. That's for sure. Let's get Usman versus Kobe. Let's get Usman versus Kobe. I want Masvidal versus Wonder Boy. That'd be no offense to Leon Edwards, but yeah.
So I thought they fought in 2017. Usman, I mean not Usman. But yeah, it was a long time ago. But Wonder Boy kind of destroyed Masvidal on that fight. If I remember correctly, he kind of picked him apart because Masvidal had great hands. He's got great boxing, but he's turned into kind of a mauler where he's just going to try to throw and throw and throw and throw, and you can't do that with a counter puncher like Wonder Boy. But yeah, just so everybody, we keep saying what's his name because we couldn't remember who he fought last, Wonder Boy, because he destroyed him. It was Jeff Neal.
Jeff Neal. He destroyed one. That was your boy. That was your boy. You were so Jeff Neal thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he destroyed one of the UFC's hottest prospects. Like Wonder Boy's though very old. It's no joke. No joke at all. And I think that's the fight to make happen. I think you're right. I would love to see a Wonder Boy Masvidal rematch or a Wonder Boy Leon Edwards fight, and then Usman fight Colby, and then the winner of Edwards Wonder Boy or Masvidal Wonder Boy fight Usman. I think you're right. That's the way to go.
Right. And I just think that I don't know, man. I've always been a Wonder Boy fan, so I'm definitely gonna be cheering him on. That's for sure. I remember the Jeff Neal fight. You were so surprised. You were just like, Wonder Boy is no joke. Because I remember specifically, you were like, no, Jeff Neal, man, he got that power. And I remember specifically, you were choosing him to win that fight. And after that fight, you were just like, he just destroyed him. He just dominated him in every way. I remember your reaction because we were texting like during that time. So
I don't come up with excuses. I always admit when I'm wrong. And Wonder Boy, that was the best he's ever looked at in a fight that I can remember. And if that version of Wonder Boy fights Usman, I honestly don't know who to pick. I really don't, because that version of Wonder Boy is as close to unbeatable as you can get for a striker.
yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, so that does it for the UFC headlines, and we're gonna move on to our UFC Vegas 19 fight preview. Let me just bring this up right here. Your screen. All right. So obviously, Mr. Alex Carr, I know for the first fight, you said this is gonna surprise people, and I'm gonna hold it on to you. This is gonna be Alex. What's it called? Upset fight of the night that we're gonna be talking about. So the first fight is Phil Hawes from Contender Series versus Nazardine Amavov, if I'm not saying that correctly. Hopefully I am. They both have the same records. They're both in the middleweight. This is a middleweight bout, and I think I know your pick for this, and I'm probably gonna choose the opposite. I'm not gonna lie, just because Phil Hawes has power, and I don't shy away from power. That's usually like one of the few things that I don't usually like choose against for sure. So Alec Carr, who do you have winning this fight if I don't know this already?
I have Amavov, or I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. My Russian is not very good. Um, I got to tell you, I watched. It's hard though. Dana White has all the fights on lockdown. It's hard to watch, to actually get fight tape on YouTube anymore, or watch full fights anymore on YouTube. But I found one of this guy's fights with his fight in Aries. Um, he fought a guy named um, in 2019. Um, this guy can strike. This guy he's got good instincts in the stand up. He's a good counter puncher. I mean, it's a much lower skill level. Aries is a good promotion. It's not the, I told Monique, it's not the best, it's not the worst. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, probably in the lower end of the middle, if I'm being honest. Um, but I was seeing stuff that you see high level strikers do. For a guy who's kind of more known as he can take you down and choke you out. Um, he was parrying punches, which is not something you see everybody do. Meaning he was knocking them out of the way and coming back with a straight. Um, he was taking hits, but he was returning strikes, like a counterpuncher does,
Yeah.
and he can take you to the ground and choke you out. Um, you're right. Phil Hawes has power. He's got power for days. We've seen it over and over again with him. Um, I'm not the biggest Hawes fan. I think he's a little bit overrated. I think you can't take away someone power because it's a huge part of fighting. But after power, what does Phil Hawes really have? This guy just seems like a well-rounded fighter to me, and I'm picking him. I'm picking him with a. I'm going to go with a second round submission for Monique.
Okay.
I know you.
Okay.
I know you love the submissions, and we might get
I
two of
love
them
the
in this
submissions.
fight.
Yes, 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 that's for sure. All right, so we're gonna move on and talk about the next bout, which is a heavyweight bout. Alexei Olenek is back, and he's facing your dude Chris Daukaus. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but so I apologize. But I don't know, Alec Carr, man. I don't usually bet against Alexei Olenek because he's just a master on the ground. He is quite a beast himself. So Chris Daukaus has, a lot of work for him to do, and he better be prepared because Alexei Oleinik is always gonna try to put you on the ground for sure. So I no offense to Chris, I'm definitely like picking Alexei Oleinik. No offense to you, Philly, anything like that. Just because I don't know, man. Alexei Oleinik is just really good. He just knows how to put you on the ground. He knows how to make you suffer. He knows how to do what he does best, which is his submissions, right? So
You're,
what do you think? Because
you're
I
not
know
wrong.
for you, it's like for you, I know this is a little bit like picking the hometown boy and not, but he's gonna struggle against Alexei Oleinik. That's for sure.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier today. I really do think he's going to struggle against Alexei Oleinik. Though Oleinik has shown that power, you can beat him with power. He has shown that. Um,
Yeah,
but this is,
for sure, for
uh,
sure.
this is Christopher Daukaus is a very inexperienced fighter in the UFC. Not in general, just in the UFC. And he's a Philly guy. He's a Philly police officer,
Yes.
believe it or not. So my heart goes out to him. I love you. I love him. I love everything he does. I watched a video about his story the other day. The guy, it just seems like a great, down to earth Philly guy, Philly tough, Philly bred. Um, I love how he looks in the ring. He just looks like I know this won't make a lot of sense to you, but if any of my friends from Philadelphia end up watching this, they're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. He looks like that guy you see at the corner of Philadelphia just hanging out. Like just hanging out in front of the Wawa, getting a hoagie, and just eating it on the trash can. I know that sounds gross, but that's actually a greater Philadelphia area thing that people do. Um, but he just looks like that guy that you could just, sit down and bullshit with for an hour. Um, but Alexei Oleinik is just, I mean, his his nickname says it all. He's a boa constrictor. Like the guy
Yeah.
will put the clamps on you and put you out. He'll break it. He'll like. So it's hard for me to pick this fight because I want to pick my Philly brethren. Um, and I'm rooting for you.
Of course.
But I don't think again. You got one way to win this fight. And you got to knock him out. You got to knock him out early. That being said, Daukaus his hands are so good. His striking is so good for a big guy. He's so fast. Um, so he does have that going for him. I don't think Alexei Oleinik. He's 43 years old. He might not be able to handle that if he gets to him early in the first round. But if this thing goes to the second, it's
If he does,
Oleinik's
yeah,
fight. Yeah,
yeah,
it's Oleinik's fight.
yeah, for
If this
sure.
thing goes past the first, this thing's going to the ground, and Daukaus he's getting choked out, or or it could be ground and pound. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but this thing, if it goes to the ground, there's no way he can win this fight. No way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm guessing you're picking probably Alexei Oleinik
I
for
was
this fight.
hoping you didn't notice that I didn't make a pick there, and we would just move on. But yes, I'm picking
I
Oleinik.
noticed.
I am picking Oleinik to win this fight.
we gotta do
Um,
that.
but I'm not rooting for him, which is unusual because I do love rooting for Oleinik.
Me too. Me too. Let's go. I'll be very surprised. Like, do you remember if you actually fell asleep for the card? I remember the UFC 258 card. So I don't know if you remember any of the prelims, if you watched any of the prelims, but there was a guy named Anthony Hernandez who freaking submitted Rodolfo Vieira, and that was the biggest thing of all time because Rodolfo Vieira was undefeated, and he is a mastermind on the ground. So just imagine that'd be hilarious if that happened again. I would be rooting for something like that. Even though
I
it's not as what's called prevalent to happen, but like that guy Anthony Hernandez, like a lot of people were saying he's not the person to ever go and submit someone, especially submit a master on the ground. So I mean, it could happen. You never know.
I mean, if you're not careful, you could always fall into a guillotine. Like that. That's the thing. Like you could always fall into a choke if you're not careful. If you think this guy sucks on the ground.
Right,
Every
and
UFC
you know
fighter
what?
knows how to choke you out.
Not only that, Alucard, you know Alexei Oleinik could get tired, and we've seen him get tired before also. So if Chris Daukaus tires him out and like pretty much runs around with him, just trading strikes, he could get tired. He could fall into that Rodolfo Vieira curse.
hmm
That's what I call it now, just because that I can't believe he lost by
Also,
choking him.
Dawkins
You just
lost
never know.
weight. Dawkins lost some weight. He looks a little bit thinner, a little bit leaner, which is probably really good for him. Um, if
His
he can
cardio, yeah, for
continue to
sure,
stay
100%.
right, if he can continue to stay leaner like that, he could. I don't know if he could make a run. I don't know if it's way too early to say anything like that. We haven't seen enough of
A
him, but
little early, a little early.
he's
Yeah.
got really quick hands for a big heavyweight. Really, really quick hands.
You just never know. I'm just saying. You just never know. So keep that hope alive, Alex. Keep that hope alive. All right. All right. We're gonna move on to the next bout, which is a featherweight bout. It is Charles Rosa versus Derek Minor, if I'm not pronouncing that right. Hopefully. I don't know. This fight baffles me because they're both so inconsistent in their records. You know, but
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm choosing Derek Minor just because I don't maybe it's my bias of like the submissions and like and the fact that he can knock people out as well, but maybe that's why I'm choosing him. But they're both so inconsistent that I have no idea if I'm making the right choice. So what do you think, Alucard?
yeah. I think this is a weird fight to make. Um, I don't. Just in general, like I forget the guy's name. That's the matchmaker of the UFC,
Sean
and
Shelby?
he did put. Yes, thank you, Shelby. He did such a good job in 2020. A phenomenal job in 2020. There wasn't a card. I mean, I wasn't. I was always excited for the weekend. There's a fight every weekend. They were always good cards. Even if you didn't know who the guys were, you were excited to get to know them because they were, the matchups were just so good. I've been disappointed a little bit this year because I know we're early into it. It's only February, but like a fight like this on a
Mm-hmm.
main card, why? Why do I need to see? Derek Miner is a good fighter. He's a submission specialist, but why do I gotta see him fight Charles Rosa? Like, I don't care
I
about
know,
this
right?
fight, you don't care about this fight. And if anybody's being honest, Dana White probably doesn't even know who the fuck these two guys are. If we're being serious,
It's so
um,
true. Yeah.
I'm gonna pick with you. I think Miner, he's showing that if this thing goes to the ground, he can get you from any angle. He's great at he
Yeah.
is the one thing he's really really good at is creating angles on the ground and getting you exactly where he wants you and putting you exactly. He has a game plan of putting you in different
Yeah.
submissions to get you out of the fight. Um, he also gets himself in trouble because of that though, and gets exposed for submissions. I mean, he's lost by rear naked choke. He's lost by triangle choke. He's lost. This is going back, but by
Mm-hmm.
armbar, by triangle
I know.
armbar. Um, so he does. He will expose himself, and Rosa does have ground game to speak of. He's not just a striker. This is a guy that has submissions and good ones on his record. He had I forget which
History.
one it
Yeah.
was. I think it was the armbar that was just nasty against Manny. But you know, I'm going to go with Miner just because I think he's better on the ground. He's better at the submission game, and I think he ends this in the third round.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't really care about this fight. I mean, I love seeing submission artists, so like obviously that's why I'm choosing Derek Minor on the ground. Probably submission. I would say submission in the second round if I'm gonna pick. But this is just one of those fights that like for some reason ended up on the main card of a fight night. So
Yeah, what's been happening too? I don't mean to interrupt you, but what's been happening too, and you've noticed this, is that the cards change last second, so this could easily get bumped down to the prelims. I mean, honestly, who gives a shit about this fight?
I'm surprised that you know what? You know what? I'm surprised they didn't put Arlovsky's fight in the main card.
I think that because we have seen, and I'm sure our viewers have noticed this too, is that we talk about fights on Wednesday, and then all of a sudden on Saturday the card's different. It's the same
Yeah.
fights. It's just something moves up into the main card. I think we might see Arlovsky move up into the main card because that doesn't make any sense to me. That this is a
Like
UFC vet who's on the prelims. Um, I mean, the guy is an absolute legend in the sport. In
right,
fact, I'm trying to pull him
right.
up real quick.
So
He's
it's
yeah,
crazy
he
that it's
just beat
not.
Tanner Bozer. Yeah, he just beat Tanner Bozer. He's coming off of 2 wins. For him to be, there's no way he's not up on the main card by the time it's Saturday night.
So we'll see about that. We'll see. All right.
Yeah.
Moving on to the co-main event, we got the women's bantamweight bout. We got Kaylin Vieira versus Yana Kuznetsov. Yeah, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but hopefully I am. My Russian is not good either.
Kunitskaya.
But Kunitskaya. Okay. But
That was a
okay.
guess too.
Here's my thing. Okay, okay. As much as I love the love between Yana and Thiago Santos, I am not a huge Yana fan. I think she's kind of boring, honestly, in the octagon, if I'm not mistaken. And Kaylin Vieira, like she's she hasn't competed in a while, or like her resume is it's okay. It's just that like because she hasn't competed in a while, there's a lot of canceled fights and all that. So I'm choosing Vieira. Yana usually wins by decision most of the time, and here's my thing: she's just kind of boring to me. And when I see her in the octagon, it's just really hard for me to root for her, like ever. Like she'll just put someone in a clinch, and that's literally what happens throughout the rest of the fight. Is that she puts someone in a clinch, but she doesn't really do anything like else. That's for me. I mean, like it's funny because you have her, and then you have her fiance or boyfriend Thiago Santos, and it's just like night and day. You got someone who's so explosive. It's true. You got someone who's so explosive, who throws haymakers, and then you have someone who's just so like reserved and like just clinches you, and that's all she does, and she just hits you at the back of the cage, and that's it, and that's the whole fight. So I'm choosing. My heart is like just because I'm a little biased right now. Um, Vieira. I mean, she could also win by decision as well, so I'm not saying that she can't. It's just that I don't know, man. Yano's just too boring for me. Alikar, what do you think? Maybe I'm just being too biased right now.
No, you're absolutely right, and I'm trending towards siding with you. The one thing Yana is she's smart. She knows her game. She knows her fight game, and she's a smart fighter. It's boring, and I would never compare her to Usman, but Usman's boring. He's still amazing, but I would never. She's not even Yana's not on that level. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying they're both boring fighters. Um,
Yeah.
there is, uh, she's a beast. Too. She's good. I'm going to side with you too because I don't see this. I don't see her being able to keep her on the cage. I don't see her letting her get
Yeah.
her to that point. Um, so I'm going to side with you too. I think this does go to decision. Um, just me personally. Maybe it's because I haven't picked a fight on this card to go to the decision, and I'm just realizing that now. But I think this fight does go to the
Yeah.
decision. I think Vera wins.
All right. Let's see. Well, maybe the last fight that we're gonna talk about, maybe that might go to decision. We got heavyweight battle between Curtis Blades versus Derek Lewis. You're shaking your head. You're thinking this is not gonna go to decision. I mean, like I'm thinking. I was up thinking about this because I mean Curtis Blades. we all know that he can wrestle. Okay, we all know that he can wrestle you, and we also know that Derek Lewis has that knockout power. At the same time, I'm leaning towards Curtis Blades just because like he's just the more technical fighter and the more skilled fighter, and Derek Lewis. As much as I love Derek Lewis, I don't know if he'll ever. He just has like a puncher's chance in this fight. And he even said, like, we talked about this. This is a man who doesn't really take his training that seriously. He doesn't take many things seriously in general. He doesn't, you know, he's hilarious. He's entertaining. We love him for that. But at the end of the day, he doesn't take, this whole MMA thing really seriously. And that's the reason why I'm choosing Curtis Blades to win this fight. What do you think, Alucard?
I think Curtis Blades wins this fight. I think he wins it easily. Um, I'm sorry, I have Derek Lewis fatigue. I know, I know he hasn't fought since. Well, I guess he fought in August, but it feels like forever ago. But I have Derek Lewis fatigue. I'm so tired. He's entertaining. He's funny. It's kind of, but it's starting to become like we're laughing at you, not with you, because you're kind of, he's. I think he would admit not the brightest bulb in the bunch. Kind of dopey. And you're right.
Yeah.
All he's got is that real overhand, and it's not even every punch. It's really that one punch that he throws, and he puts so much power into it
Yeah.
that he gasses himself out. He throws three of them in a fight, and he misses with all of them. He's done. Um, Curtis Blades
Yeah.
has gotten that kind of moniker of the boring fighter as well, but he's good. He's really, really, really good. His ground game keeps getting better. And
Yeah.
let's not forget, Curtis Blades has also got power. This is the heavyweight division. Everybody in this division has power. But Curtis Blades isn't. He's a guy that can knock you out. He's got knockout power at that division. I don't think he's really afraid of Derek Lewis. I think a lot of the heavyweight division is much, much better than when Derek Lewis first entered it and he had his rise. It's much better now. There's legit contenders. And Curtis Blades is one of them. I don't listen. I don't know if he can beat Ngannou. I think he definitely can't beat Stipe, but he Curtis Blades is legit fighter, and he's going to take this fight to the ground. And I think he wins in ground and pound, honestly. And I think this fight goes to the second round. Derek Lewis gets gassed like we've seen a million times. He shoots the takedown, gets him down easily, and gets to mount and just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And that's just how I see it going.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true. I
telling you,
never
Derek,
even
he was
thought about
so.
that.
It's just Derek is, he was so entertaining at first, and here's a guy that has the like guys with that one punch only come around so often. Where if they connect with that one punch, they're going out. Like Dan Henderson was one of them. He had that. He has a punch named after him. It's called the H bomb, the Hendo bomb.
Yeah.
But he was also a gold medalist, not a gold medalist, I think bronze. Sorry, he's an Olympian Greco-Roman wrestler. Like this, he had other aspects of his game. If Derek Lewis cared, like you talked about, if he cared, he could be one of the best in the division. He just doesn't care. He doesn't want to be. I remember when
Yeah.
it was the comment going into the DC fight when the person he beat. Let's see, hold on. Before he beat Volkov, this is going back to 2018. He beat Volkov, and then he was asked about the DC fight because everybody knew he was fighting DC next after he beat Volkov, and he even said, "I don't know, like I don't really want to fight him." And like that's what it felt like. He was, I don't really want to fight him. I don't really want to train that hard. That seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to punch people in the face. That's what I want to do, and he can make a living off of it, but he's gonna get his ass beat in this fight.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Alright, people, that does it for this week of Fights Unwrapped. Next week we have, let's go, Gain versus
I'm excited for
Rose
next
Mitra.
that week. I am excited for that fight. We got
Yeah,
Magomed
we still
back
have
on
to
that
see
card.
the fight card. Yes.
Yeah.
And then the Marion and Macy fight is back on that card for sure. Macy Chiasson versus Marion Renault. That got moved up to that card, so there you go. So we still got a few fights to look at for that one, but really excited for that. This week does it for Fights Unwrapped, people. Have a great fight week, and we will be back next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.